Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our temporary learning arrangement. Reminds me of Mitzvah Simchas Torah Tavshin Lamed Ches. Tavshin Lamed Ches, Shmini Atzeres, was the time that the episode with the heart took place, and the Rebbe didn't come out and didn't have the usual Farbrengen. But the Rebbe insisted that right after Yontiv he wants to speak via telephone hookup to all the Chassidim. And the doctors didn't want to allow the Rebbe to do that. They were afraid that it was a risk for his health. And at the end they agreed for 5 minutes. And the Rebbe actually spoke for 20 minutes. And Baruch Hashem, it all went well. But we know the Rebbe's approach is not to give any substance to things that are negative. So when the Rebbe began the Sikha, he mentioned nothing about an illness, something occurred, something negative happened. The Rebbe just started by saying, due to certain circumstances, the Farbrengen tonight is via the telephone, which allows so many more people to participate. In other words, the Rebbe immediately pointed out the good that came out of it, the light that comes after the darkness, and through the darkness, which is the ultimate purpose, that when the Farbrengen is in 770 during Yontiv, only those that are local could be part of the Farbrengen. But now that it's over the phone, so from all over the world, people could be tuned in. That is a L'chatchila Riber kind of approach to transcend all the things that are in the way, blocking, and the Torah could be taught on a global level. So we're going to be learning about Pesach. Right now, I'll start with not using a text, but just explaining certain subjects, the way they're explained in Chassidus. And hopefully we'll continue with these classes on the subject of Pesach. So first, let's start with the fact that Pesach is, of course, the 15th day of Nisan. But in a sense, it's not just Pesach, but once Rosh Chodesh Nisan begins, the first day of the Hebrew month of Nisan, we have actually entered a new era. This is a new time of the year. And in a sense, the way it's explained in Chassidus is that from Tishrei until Nisan is one tkufa, one era, and from Nisan until Tishrei is another one. I will soon explain what the difference is. In Chassidus it's explained based on the pasuk Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. When it comes to the month of Elul, everyone is very familiar with that pasuk. It's a pasuk in Shir HaShirim, which expresses the love of Hashem to the Jewish people and the love of the Jewish people to Hashem. And we're saying Ani l'doidi, which means I am to my beloved, which means I love Hashem and I relate to Him. V'doidi li, and Hashem loves me. Hashem shows me His love. However, there's another pasuk in Shir HaShirim which says exactly the same thing, but in the reverse order. It says, Doidi li v'ani loi. That Hashem shows His love to me, and I love Him. Same thing, just the reverse order. So Chassidus explains that the first pasuk, as we know, Ani l'doidi v'doidi li, is Rosh Tevis Elul. The first letter in each word spells the word Elul, which means this pasuk alludes to the time of Elul and Tishrei. The second pasuk, v'doidi li v'ani lo, with the reverse order, that is alluding to the time of Nisan. So now we'll explain what this means and what the difference is. It says in Chumash We learned this in the Parsha not long ago, Parsha's Boi, regarding the month of Nisan, Rishon hu lachem l'chodshi hashana. That Nisan is considered Rishon, the beginning, the first of the months of the year. On the other hand, we know that Rosh Hashanah, which is in Tishrei, that's Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year. That's what we consider the new year, begins at that day. So which is the beginning? Is it Nisan or is it Tishrei? And the answer is they're both true. But Nisan is the beginning of the months, which means when you count months, the first of all months is Nisan. And therefore, when you look in the Chumash, or you look anywhere in the books of the prophets, Tanakh, and you see a month mentioned, it's never mentioned by name, it's always mentioned by number. The 10th month, the 5th month, the 4th month, the 3rd month. These numbers mean counting from Nisan. When you count from Nisan, the Tishrei is the 7th month, not considered the beginning of the year, but the 7th month, as far as the months are concerned. When you look at the year as a whole, the beginning of the year is Rosh Hashanah, is in Tishrei. That's the simple meaning of the fact that we can reconcile both things. Nisan is a beginning, and Tishrei is a beginning. Then there's deeper explanations, which are brought down in Chassidus, based on what's written in Kabbalah, that Hashem, as we know, every detail in this world comes from Hashem, and miracles come from Hashem, the order of nature comes from Hashem, every detail in nature comes from Hashem. So this is the difference between Tishrei and Nisan. Tishrei is the time that Hashem, it's the Rosh Hashanah, which means on this day Hashem determines all the things in the world that are going to happen in the natural order. Nisan, this is the time that Hashem determines all the things that are going to happen in the world this year in a miraculous way. In fact, it's hinted in the word Nisan, because Nisan actually comes from the same word as Nes, which means miracles. The Gemara also says, the Gemara talks about dreams and what is the significance of certain dreams. Just need to insert while we talk about this that today we don't give any substance to dreams. The Rabbi writes this in many letters and gave this answer to many people, that when they had a dream and they were concerned about it, the Rabbi said, today we don't give any substance to dreams. It's really nothing. And years ago, it had substance, and it was some sort of a sign from Shemayim. Today it doesn't mean anything. And it's just thoughts that are going on in a person's subconscious. They come up to the surface at night when they're dreaming, and therefore we shouldn't pay any attention to it. The Rabbi uses the term Chalomes Shav Yidaberu, which means dreams mean nothing. There's actually a famous story that there was a chassid who was a Satmar chassid, and he used to come to 770 to the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he looked up to the Frierdiker Rebbe, he respected the Frierdiker Rebbe. And after Yud Shvat, after the Stalkos of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and then later the Rebbe took on leadership, he didn't have that same feeling. The Rebbe was very young, and whatever was going on in his mind, he didn't have that attraction, that interest to come to the Rebbe. And he stopped coming to 770. And one night, I think it was a Friday night, he had a dream, and the Frierdiker Rebbe told him, why don't you continue going to 770? Because my son-in-law is there, and he is in the place of the Frierdiker Rebbe. And he was taken aback by such a dream. So he came to 770, and he was standing in a place where when the Rebbe walked out, or the Rebbe walked in, it was passing by that spot. And when the Rebbe passed by that spot, the Rebbe said to him, turned to him, without him saying anything, and said, Chalomes Shav Yidaberu, dreams mean nothing. And then he realized that his dream was really something, and that the Rebbe is a person of a higher spiritual caliber. But of course, if you have a good dream, take it. But any other dream which is confusing or disturbing, the Rebbe says, don't pay any attention to it. But in the times where dreams mean something, the Gemara says if you see the word Nisan in your dream, it means that you're going to have miracles. In fact, it says you'll have miracles of miracles, because there's two nunin in the word Nisan. So the month of Nisan and Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah for all the miracles throughout the year. And Rosh Hashanah, which is in Tishrei, is the Rosh Hashanah, the beginning of the year, where Hashem determines all the things that are going to happen in the natural order. There's also another thing where there's a discussion in Gemara, two opinions, from Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Lezer says that the world was created in the month of Tishrei, and Rabbi Yeshua says the world was created in the month of Nisan. And on the surface it seems to be a contradiction, two opposite opinions. But then it's brought down that there is a way to reconcile both opinions, and that is that just like the Gashmius, when a person speaks, before he speaks, he had certain thoughts, what to say, how to say, and then he speaks. So the same is with Hashem, of course, metaphorically speaking, that in the month of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, that's when Hashem created the world in thought. And in Chodesh Tishrei, that's when Hashem created the world through speech. That's when the actual world was created. In fact, based on that, it makes a difference in another thing. According to Rabbi Lezer's opinion, that the world was created in Tishrei, so we know that the real birthday of the world is actually Chav Hei Elul. Because on the first day of Tishrei, it's not the day the world was created, it's the day Adam Arishon was created, the first man. And being that he was created on Friday, that it means the world was created 6 days earlier. When is that? The 25th of Elul. According to this, the Rebbe says, that opinion that holds that the world was created Rosh Chodesh Nisan, or the way we just explained that on the level of thought it was created Rosh Chodesh Nisan, which also means that Adam Arishon was created on that day, so 6 days earlier is Chav HaYadar. So in a few days, this Shabbos will be Chav HaYadar, which is the Rebbetzon's birthday, is actually, according to this opinion, is the birthday of the entire creation. So what is the difference between the two things? And how does it relate to Ani L'Doidi V'Doidi Li, which we mentioned before? So Chassidus explains the following. That the difference between Nisan and Tishrei is, Tishrei, which is Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, came as a result of our tshuva. The Yidden worshipped the golden calf, and then there was a decree, and Moshe Rabbeinu davened for them 40 days and 40 nights one time, and then 40 days and 40 nights another time, and then finally on Yom Kippur, Hashem said, Salachti kedvarecha, He forgives them. From that point on, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, this became a day of tshuva and atonement for all of history, for the whole future of the world. So that means that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, Tishrei, came about as a result of tshuva. When the Yidden went out of Mitzrayim, there wasn't any inyan of tshuva yet. There was no Torah there yet when they went out of Egypt. So when they received the Torah then, that was like the Avodah of Tzadikim. That Hashem just gave it to them. It didn't come as a result of them doing tshuva. Hashem on His own chose to give Yidden this gift. So that means that the difference between the two times of the year represent two kinds of Avodah. Nisan represents the Avodah of Tzadikim, and Tishrei represents the Avodah of Bali Tshuva, which, generally speaking, yes, that's the difference between people who are tzaddikim or people who are Bali Tshuva. But this is not only two different kinds of people, this could also be in the same person himself. There are certain issues in his life which come easy, come natural, and there's certain issues in serving Hashem we have to work harder. So in some issues, he does the Avodah like the tzaddikim. Person is born with a natural, calm nature. Doesn't have to struggle with anger. Or person is born with the natural characteristics of chesed, of giving and kindness and sensitivity and caring. He doesn't have to struggle with that. So in that aspect, he's like the Avodah tzaddikim. There are other character traits which are very challenging. He has to overcome that. In those areas, he's like Baalei Tshuva. We can also say another thing. Every person has different times of the year. Sometimes he feels inspired, uplifted, doesn't even know how to, can't even attribute it to something that he did. He just woke up this morning and he feels inspired and he feels excited about davening, about learning, about mitzvahs. And that is like the Avodah tzaddikim. Something is given to you from above. And the other possibility is that there are certain days where a person doesn't feel that. They feel blocked. They feel that nothing is really working for them. And therefore, when they do this Avodah, they have to struggle. So that's like the Avodah of Baalei Tshuva. In other words, there are times in the year where we do the Avodah of Tzaddikim. Let's take an example, Shabbos and Yontif. And Shabbos and Yontif is a time where people are more inspired. And why? Because Hashem shines an unusual spiritual light in the world, and that lifts us to a higher spiritual place. And then there are the weekdays, ordinary Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, where there's no spiritual light that's shining, and we have to work on our own to get there. So these are the two kinds of Avedis. One is the Avodah of Tzaddikim, and one is the Avodah of Baalei Tshuva. And we'll soon talk about what is the advantage of one over the other. But I want to go back to the beginning where we said one is Ani l'Dei V'Dei Li. Ani l'Dei V'Dei Li means I turn to Hashem, which means that I'm the one that does tshuva. I'm struggling. There's nothing that's sort of being revealed to me. I'm not being uplifted or inspired from above. In fact, I feel blocked, and I work through it, and I overcome whatever it is, and I connect to Hashem, and I show Hashem my love. And as a result of that, V'dei li, Hashem responds to that, and He shows me His love and shows me godliness in a more open way. That's the Avodah of Baalei Tshuva. The Avodah of Tzaddikim is the reverse. Dei li, which means Hashem shines His light on me. It comes first from Hashem. And then I respond to that, Vani loi, and I show Hashem my love as a result of that. I guess this is just like in any kind of relationship, where there are two people, that the relationship is two-way relationship, but there are some times where one person initiates the feeling of appreciation and love to the other person, and that brings the other person to respond to it. And there are times where the opposite happens, that the other person is the one that initiates, and then the first person is the one that reacts. The same as with Hashem and a Yid. There are times where Hashem takes the initiative to show us His love through brachas, through spiritual inspiration, but it's something that happens which I feel God's presence in a more open way. And as a result of that, I respond. And that's Dei li v'ani loi. And there are some times where it's the opposite. In the language of Chassidus, this is called Milmaila Lamata or Mamata Lamaila. Milmaila Lamata means from up, down. In other words, first there's an inspiration from above. Hashem shows His kindness. Hashem shines His light to us. Milmaila Lamata. And then we respond to Him. The other way is that Hashem doesn't shine His light. In fact, it's concealed. And I make the effort to connect to Him. So it's first starting off milmata, from down below, and I work my way up. And if we look at the differences between Nisan and Tishrei in many ways, we can see this difference, how it expresses itself in many ways. To give one example, the month of Nisan Well, before I give this example, I'm going to give a little introduction. That we know that the Aleph Beis could be read in two directions. Ordinarily, it's Aleph Beis, Gimel, Daled, Hey, Vav, Zayin, and we go all the way till the end, Tuf. There are times where the Aleph Beis is written in the reverse order. We start from the end. For example, in davening, if you look at the Ashrei prayer, the first pasuk is with an Aleph, Ashrei, then the next one is with a Beis, Gimel, Daled, Hey, goes all the way down till the last letter of the Aleph Beis. And there are many prayers like that. If you look closely, you'll notice that each pasuk, each verse, begins with another letter of the Aleph Beis, and it's in the order of the Aleph Beis. There are other prayers where it's in reverse order. One example is in the davening of Shabbos, where we daven Musaf. There's a prayer in Musaf which is called Tikanta Shabbos. So if you look at that prayer, it's read Tikanta Shabbos, Ratzisa Karbanisel, Tzivisa Perushel. You'll see the whole Aleph Beis there, but the Tuf is first, then comes the Shin, then the Reish, then the Kuf, and it goes from the last letter back to the first. So generally speaking, of course, these are very deep things, and we don't always understand why, what, and when. But what we do understand, the general idea is that when the Aleph Beis is written in the regular order, it's Mamayla Lamata, starting from the top, from the Aleph, and working our way down till the Tuf. And when it's the reverse order, it means we start with the Tuf, which is the end, and we work our way up to the beginning. So this is one of the differences between Nisan and Tishrei. In the Chumash it says that Nisan has to be B'Chodesh HaAviv, in the spring. In fact, that's the reason why we make two others sometimes. The reason is because, according to the Torah, the holiday of Pesach has to be in the spring. And sometimes, if you wouldn't make a second other, it wouldn't be in the spring. What's the word for the spring in Hebrew? Aviv, which is spelled Aleph, Beis, Yud, Beis. So the fact that it's spelled Aleph, Beis means that this is connected to the Aleph, Beis with a straight order, starting from the Aleph, then going to the Beis. When we think of the month of Tishrei, Tishrei is spelled Tuf, Shin, Reish, which is the reverse order. The first letter is a Tuf, the second letter is a Shin, the third letter is a Reish. We're going from down up, because that's the difference between the two. Another area where we see how this expresses itself is that during Pesach, that's the time that we daven for dew, tal. During the month of Tishrei, the holiday of Shemini Atzeres, that's the time that we daven for rain, Geshem. There's a special prayer that we daven for rain. And on Pesach, there's a special prayer that we daven for dew. The difference between rain and dew is that rain comes as a result of, there's a mist that comes from the water down here. It goes up to the clouds. That gets filled with water, and that brings rain down. So in other words, the way rain happens is Mulmata Lamayla. It starts down here, something goes up, and then from up there it comes down. But tal, dew, doesn't work that way. It's always coming down from above. So the difference between rain and dew is an expression of the difference between the holiday of the month of Nisan and the month of Tishrei. Of course, the question is, so which Avodah is better? Which Avodah is higher? And the truth is, Chassidus teaches us every Avodah and every situation always has a certain advantage over the other situation. Just like in the human body, there are many organs, and they're all necessary. They're all important organs. And chas v'shalom, if anything would be missing, the person would be handicapped. So there's an advantage of the eyes of all the other organs. The eyes provide us with something that all the other organs can't. And the same thing with the ears, and the nose, and the mouth, and the hands, and the feet, and the brain, and the heart. So each organ has an advantage over all the other organs in the body. And the same is with Avodah. There are different kinds of Avodah. There are different kinds of people in the world. In general, we know that every human being has a specific mission, specific shlichus, a specific Avodah that they're supposed to do. And generally speaking, there are 7 categories. That's why the menorah had 7 branches. It represents the 7 categories of Yidden serving Hashem. We all have the same Torah, we all have the same mitzvahs, but in terms of specifically what path we follow, what inspires us, the spirit of what we're doing, some people are chesed, some people are gvura, some people are tiferes, and so on. And even in each one, there are hundreds and thousands and millions of details of chesed or gvura or everything else that goes along with it. So often people have a certain feeling of jealousy. I wish I would have the other person's Avodah. That Avodah looks to me much better, that Avodah is superior to mine. But the truth is, every person's Avodah was given to them by Hashem. What I need to do is focus on what is the advantage in my Avodah, what I'm contributing to the other person's Avodah. Not to look on what's inferior, what am I missing, what am I lacking. On the contrary, there's definitely something in my Avodah which is much greater than all other Avedahs. And that's what I need to focus on. That'll make me appreciate my Avodah that I'm doing. So there's an advantage in the Avodah of Tzaddikim, and there's an advantage of the Avodah of Balei Tshuva. Generally speaking, the difference is that the Avodah of Tzaddikim, in a certain way, is easier. So they tell the story, it's a mashal, that a person took to mountain climbing, and then one day decided he wants to climb this very, very high mountain. It was very difficult to climb, and he went up and slipped back and worked on it for many months, and then it was more than a year, and then it took a few years, and finally, after a few years struggling, he got to the top of the mountain, and he was on such a high, he felt like just jumping up into the air, couldn't believe that he actually made it, till he turned around, and he saw a 7-year-old boy standing, and he said to him, "How did you get here?" And the child looked at him very puzzled, and he said, "What do you mean? I was born here." It's a mashal that some people are born on top of a mountain. This could mean financially, this could mean spiritually, this could mean academically, and some people have to work hard to get on top of the mountain. And Chassidus explains us the reason why Hashem created some people like this and some people like that is because there is an advantage in each one of those avodas. And in fact, what is most precious to Hashem is the things that we achieve through challenges, through avodah. Not the things that we achieve because Hashem gave it to us as a gift. Of course, if Hashem gives me a gift, I should take advantage of it, and I should rise to the occasion, and not chas v'sholem neglect it and just say, "Oh, Hashem gave me a gift, I'm okay." No, you have to use that gift. But still, it comes easy because Hashem gave it to me. When a person works on something through avodah, which means there's a struggle, I have to labor to get there, then what I've achieved has a certain advantage to it. And one of the ways explained in Chassidus is based on a phrase in Gemara, Reitza Adam bekav shaloi, yesem et tisha kavin shal chaverei, which means a person would rather have 1 bushel of wheat, which is his own, that he worked on, labored to produce, than 9 bushels that someone else produced and gave it to him. In other words, if you have something that you worked on, whether it's in music, whether it's in art, whether it's something spiritually or something physical, you worked on it and you created this, there's a certain deep attachment to it that you have. It's much more sentimental to you because you invested yourself in putting this together. Something else that someone else gave you, even though it might be worth more in the market, but to you it's not the same value because it was given to you. So this term, even though the Gemara is talking about something on a very physical level, a person would rather have 1 bushel of wheat, which is his own, than 9 bushels, which were given to him by someone else. Nevertheless, it has a meaning also in a spiritual sense. And that is that a person who works on his own might not have the ability, the capability, the capacity to reach such heights like a tzaddik who was given a high neshama, tremendous potential. So that person could accomplish much more, could achieve much more. But the work, whatever he achieves, whatever he accomplishes, because it doesn't come from working this hard labor, therefore it's not as deep. And something that a person works through to get there and puts a lot of effort into it, and there's a struggle and there's a challenge, even though it might be less, in a sense, in quantity, because a person on his own doesn't have the capacity to reach the same heights like a person who's giving a gift from above. But whatever he does reach is very dear and very precious and very deep. So in a sense, you might put it this way, that it's much easier Avodah when it's given from above, but there's much more depth to it when it comes through the hard labor. So the fact that we say that there's 2 times of the year, one is Nisan, one is Tishrei, it means that the month of Nisan and the history of the Jewish people going out of Mitzrayim and all the miracles that took place, that represents that kind of Avodah. So it doesn't only apply for Nisan, it really applies all year round, whenever a person has circumstances which are equivalent to that. It's the day that I feel inspired, it's the day that I saw a miracle, the day that I saw Hashem really help me, I saw Hashgacha Pratis in a very open way. Those are days that, to me, that are like Nisan, and I should appreciate that this is Hashem's gift. And then there are days of the year and incidents that happen, things that occur to a person, which are like Tishrei. And I should appreciate that it's very precious to Hashem, even though it might be something small, but it came through my Avodah, through my hard labor. Continuing on this note, another place where we see that Nisan, how it stands out in comparison to Tishrei, is that, yes, Nisan is the head of the year when it comes to months. And we see that every month, every day in Nisan, the first 12 days of Nisan, there was a special thing that happened. And that is that we know the Mishkan was established and started to be active on the first day of Nisan, Rosh Chodesh Nisan, when the Yidden were in the desert. And they started with Chanukas HaMishkan. They dedicated the Mishkan by the fact that each day a Nasi brought a korban. A Nasi brought a special sacrifice for the entire tribe. There weren't the ordinary sacrifices, mainly the sacrifice of the Nasi. So these 12 days were dedicated to Nasiim, which are the heads of each tribe. Which means, in a sense, just like the month of Nisan is the head of the year when it comes to months, each day in the beginning of Nisan is also related to the head of each tribe. Also it says in Gemara, or Medrash, that the first day of Nisan was the day that the Mishkan was established. Rashi says, Oisa Hayom Natal Etalat Esra Taurus. That day took 10 crowns. In other words, 10 amazing, phenomenal things happened on that day, Rosh Chodesh Nisan. And it gives a list of all the 10 things. But again, the term that it's used is 10 crowns. So again, we see that Nisan is connected to crowns, to royalty, to leadership. Another thing it says in Gemara, that there are 4 days of the year that are considered Rosh Hashanah for different issues. And Rosh Chodesh Nisan is considered Rosh Hashanah for kings. What does that mean? Years ago, when they wrote a document, any document, of course there has to be a date on a document. If somebody's making a sale, you put a date on the document to know when the sale was made, or any document needs to have a date. And then everything could be judged according to the date. One of the things they would write in the date is not only the day of the month, but they would write which year it is of the king, the second year of the king, the third year of the king, the fourth year of the king, and so on. That was one of the ways of identifying the year. But how could that help us if every time a king becomes a king, it could be a different time of the year? So therefore they established, the sages, that there's one time for all. Rosh Chodesh Nisan is the beginning of the year for a king, which means if somebody ascended to the throne before Rosh Chodesh Nisan, even if in the month of Adar, once the Rosh Chodesh Nisan comes, that's his second year of kingdom. And so therefore the beginning of kings, of the year for a king, is the same for everyone. So we see an incredible thing about the month of Nisan, that every single day is related to royalty, to leadership, to crowns, to kings, and miracles. In a sense, miracles is the same idea, because a miracle is like the crown of the creation. The world operates in the order of nature. When a miracle happens, that's going beyond nature, and that's actually related to Hashem's crown, meaning the level of the infinite light of Hashem. That's where miracles come from. Just to relate this, practically speaking, as we're approaching the month of Nisan, this Shabbos will be the Shabbos that we're actually giving the bracha for the new month. It couldn't come in a better time, that the whole world is all obsessed, and rightfully so, with the virus that's going on, and we see the impact that it had on the whole world in a way like nothing else can compare to it. It affected the world in every single level, and everyone's doing everything they can to protect their lives and to protect the lives of their loved ones, waiting until it's over. And as we spoke about this yesterday, we have to be strong in our bitachon, in our trust in Hashem. So this is the time of the year that helps us and gives us even more strength to be able to rise above it. And that is the belief in Hashem, that Hashem is the one that's the source of nature and the source of miracles, and we're not limited by the laws of nature. And just like Hashem took us out of Mitzrayim the first time, it was the month of Nisan because it was in a miraculous way. The 10 plagues were miraculous. Just going out of Egypt in itself was miraculous. Crossing the sea split was miraculous, because this is the month for miracles. So we're approaching a time now which is conducive for miraculous things to happen. In fact, that's why the Gemara says that Yidden went out of Egypt in the month of Nisan, and in the future they'll also be going out of Egypt in the month of Nisan. That's when Mashiach will come. Some people are puzzled by that, because that would mean that Mashiach can only come in the month of Nisan. Don't we say that I wait for him every single day? And the answer is that even though Mashiach can come any day of the year, in any moment in any day, but it means that there will be a certain stage of redemption, because the redemption will come in various stages, that a certain stage of redemption will, even after Mashiach comes, and there's already redemption, there will be another major turning point in the process of redemption that will take place in the month of Nisan. But certainly it means that the month of Nisan is conducive for the Geula. So clearly, after seeing what's happening, that the whole world is being affected in this way, which is on the surface in a negative way, it'll be turned around. We will see and witness Hashem's miracles, and it'll bring the miracle of all miracles, the nisim of all miracles, the Geula mitzvah Shloma should be taken from Yad Mamish. Everybody have a happy, healthy, safe Mashiach Dike day.